Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into what is decidedly one of the greatest victory Mondays we will have in Buccaneers history. I don't even know what the hell just transpired less than 24 hours ago. I don't even know how you encapsulate all that went on. I don't even know how I get all the information in from our post-game discussions with the players and coaches. There's so much to talk about. So glad you are with us on this Monday morning as the Bucs are four-time NFC South Division champions. And for a lifelong Bucs fan like you, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports, good morning to you. It's got to be a great day to wake up to yet another division title as the Saints and Falcons and Carolina Panthers just suck it.
Yeah, they do what they do. They do what they do. I mean, the Bucs used to be them too. Let's be honest.
Yes,
but,
and it's good not to be.
It's good not to be in that state of futility anymore. It's good to win the NFC South for 4 years in a row. What, the Bucs had won it like 6 times, I think, before this run, and their entire history up to that point, which is nuts. Only team in the NFC to go to the playoffs 5 years in a row. It's like we're living in whether we realize it or not, because of how many times we have bitch and moan Mondays with this football team sometimes. This is the golden age of Tampa Bay Buccaneers football.
Absolutely. And you got to throw in the Brady part of that as well, right? And the Super Bowl championship and what he brought, another division title. And it all kind of seamlessly goes. And I think, where I'm going to go in this somewhat abbreviated monologue as we get through this is, a couple of things. When we talked about Camp Kumbaya from the very beginning of this season, and I told you there's something special happening with this team. There's, the offseason was magical. In order to get all those guys back and get everybody on the same page in the NFL, it's next to impossible. It's next to impossible because you know what? It's a business. We're told all the time, it's a business. This is the business part of it. You know what they didn't make? Business decisions. That's what they didn't make. That's what Mike Evans did not make a business decision. Houston threw gobs of money at him. He did not make a business decision. He made a personal, team first decision, personal in terms of his family and not being about money. You know who else got more money offer thrown at him? Baker Mayfield. He could have gone other places, but as Mike told me yesterday, I asked him about that afterwards. I said, as you stand here, Mike, and all that's what's transpired in the last half hour, tying Jerry Rice, another playoff win and division title. And you think back to this offseason where you were vacillating about whether you were going to stay or not and all the money that was being thrown at you. How glad are you that you made the right decision? And he just kind of laughed. He said, I was never going to leave Tampa Bay. I was never. You know why? Because this organization has built a culture. Those of you who hate that word, this is what it is. This is why it matters. They built a culture that made him want to stay. And the same thing goes for Baker Mayfield. And what did we see yesterday from Baker Mayfield? The thing that I love about Bake is, you could walk into a bar, right, at the patio or the Anchor Bar, or any other dive bar in Tampa. You could find yourself some Baker Mayfield. And you can find probably a lot of other guys that look like him. He's not 6'5". He's not Josh Allen. He's not a guy that's going to just wow you with his athletic ability. But you know what? He's a hell of an athlete. That dude is one hell of a freaking athlete. Did you see that throw to Jalen McMillan in the corner of the end zone on the run, on the full sprint, to throw a 40-yard basically traveling distance, 35 to 40 yards on the line to a pinpoint spot outside the white line where only Jalen McMillan can catch that ball? Did you see that?
Not to live in the moment, but is that the best pass Baker Mayfield's ever made? At least in a Buccaneer uniform?
It's pretty damn close.
Tom Brady was going nuts on the broadcast.
Yeah.
For those who were watching at home.
Well, and here's Tom Brady can't make that throw. Tom Brady cannot make that.
Probably not.
He can't make the throw. He can't because he can't get out the side. It takes momentum moving forward to be able to make that throw. And he ain't running out of the pocket. He's not. First of all, he's not escaping the pocket. Number one, that's a sack. And to be able to buy the time and get out of it and to throw that ball. But and he ends up with 4,500 yards and 41 touchdown passes. Only 4 other quarterbacks have done that. And their names are Breeze, Brady, Marino. I'm forgetting the thing. Okay. I mean, rarefied air.
Yeah, I actually have the list right here. It's a few more guys, but it's Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Joe Burrow, Andrew Luck, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, and now Baker Mayfield. So I believe that's another list where
he was in the top 5, or there was only 5 of them. So maybe I'm forgetting another piece of criteria there.
But 70% completion percentage to it.
Yeah, yeah.
You're thinking of.
Yeah. So added 71% completion percentage. I mean, it's insane. It's off the charts. And people go, oh, well, it's a good year. Are you kidding me? He lost Chris Godwin week 5. His leading receiver, his go-to third down guy, the most important player, frankly, outside of Baker Mayfield in the offense. With the obviously, apologies to Mike Evans, but Godwin was that guy. Mike was the other guy, the big play guy, the complimentary guy, the guy that helped Godwin get open, all that stuff. So I'm not delineating between the two. The fact is, you lost your most exclusive target in the third down and red zone area. I mean, and you still put up all those numbers. But it's back to this organization as a family and the culture that they've built that brought all these guys back, making Levante David want to come back. Hell, Shaq Barrett's on the couch. He just can't stand it. He's got to get back and be with his boys because it's such a great culture. And that's what won that game yesterday. They were getting their ass handed to them at halftime, bro. 188-44. In yards, I think it was, on 182-44. Time of possession was 18 minutes to 5 minutes. I mean, it was unbelievable how lopsided it was. And yet you're saying to yourself, you know what? They're not out of this game. At least I was. I was like, they're going to come back and win this game. I don't know how. I don't know which way, but they're going to come back and win this game. And once again, the defense holds the other team to 3 points in the second half. They've given up 9 points total in the second half in their last 5 games. I mean, as bad as this defense is in the first half, and it was bad. It was right. Rattler, no Chris Olave.
Dante Pettis scoring touchdowns in 2025.
Wide open Dante Pettis. I mean, you just allow him to go right down the field before the half, and I'm just dumbfounded. I'm like, how bad are we? Spencer Rattler was not touched, and I mean not touched. And then by some miracle in the second half, Bowles and the boys figure it out and they shut him down. And then offensively, you just continue to make big play after big play. This is what I'm telling you, folks, is not normal. 3rd and 14, and Baker Mayfield's running out of there for 27 yards. And let me tell you, I don't know how fast he was going. I want to see him clocked, but that he was moving pretty damn good.
And he was not thinking about sliding at any moment during these runs. I mean, Baker yesterday, I don't think he slid once. I think he actually slid once, and he actually got popped pretty good.
Yeah, that's what brought on the brouhaha, which really kind of sparked the team, kind of gave him some life and gave him some energy early in the third quarter. So that was actually turned out to be good. And it was a late slide too, to be honest. But his resiliency and the way he just does not flinch. I mean, this dude, he may not be the MVP, although I think he deserves a tremendous amount of consideration for MVP. If you watched every game and watched how he bailed the Bucs out time and time again in big throws, dude, the 3rd and 16 run off the charts, the 3rd and 6 run off the charts, the throw to Jalen McMillan on 4th and 8. Are you effing kidding me? I mean, that ball from my perspective in the press box, I was kind of like right in line with the throw. And as some in the press box were lamenting out loud, how do you go for it on 4th and 8? How do you go for it on 4th and 8? And then you go for the home run. I mean, it's not the most sound strategy, but it doesn't matter to Baker Mayfield. He just makes plays. And Jalen McMillan, oh my God. Yeah, I was lamenting, back when he was doing absolutely nothing. And we watched him in practice and we hear Mike Evans talk about him. And we're all just like, what like he just couldn't make a combat catch. He was getting out physical. And something clicked for this dude, man. Something clicked for this guy. The last 5 games, 24 receptions, 316 yards, and 7 touchdowns. 7
Yeah.
touchdowns.
And for context, he finished the season with 461 yards and 8 touchdowns. So, like, almost all his production this season came in these last 5 games.
Yeah.
And I remember we were having these talks, like, I think maybe around the Carolina game or something like that, or the Giants game. It was like Jalen McMillan looks like he has no clue out there. Like, that's what it looked like. Like, he just he didn't have a clue. And I don't know, he flipped a switch or something. And my goodness, what a big lift he was for the Bucs. I mean, this guy is going to be a real player in the NFL for years to come, and he already is right now.
Yes.
And it's like, we got to get through this season, of course, but the idea of like getting Godwin back and having all 3 of these guys on the field at the same time, I mean, couple that in with the Cade Otton that we saw this year before he got hurt. Devin Culp all of a sudden looks like a real player too.
Yes.
Like, this offense has staying power for years to come. But for right now, to me, they just capped off what I will continue to say. I think it's the best offense in the history of the Buccaneers. I think the numbers bear that out. They finished as the number 3 total offense in all of football, which is just crazy. Nobody thought, and I mean nobody probably thought Baker Mayfield could ever throw for 40 touchdowns and 4,500 yards with a 71% completion percent passing in the same season. And yet he did it. And he got snubbed from the Pro Bowl. And you know what? Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got snubbed from the Pro Bowl, because he's the kind of guy that probably takes that stuff to heart and he raises his level of play. By the way, the guy who made it over him, did you see him last night on Sunday Night Football?
Who's that?
Mr. Sam Darnold. Did you see that? Did you see that against the depleted Lions bunch? Not too good. Not too good.
When he got a little pressure, it kind of wilted. And that's the thing about Baker. When he gets pressure, he thrives. He thrives. He figures it out. He escapes. I was talking to Cody Mock about that after the game. I did about a 4-minute interview with him, which I'm going to put up on social today. But basically, I asked him about that. I said, what's it like playing with Baker? And he's just like, man, he constantly energizes us. He constantly is going. And he's like, he's a badass. He just, we know that he's going to make a play. And listen, I've seen and covered teams when you have a quarterback where you just know, he ain't the guy. And we ain't, he's not going to get it done in crunch time.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of them come through.
And it affects the team 24/7. But when you have the opposite, when you have a guy who is a gamer, who has the ability and shows it time and time again that he can bring you back, and you're never out of a game. But here's the oddest stat of all from yesterday. Yes, going into yesterday's game, Baker Mayfield was 0-43 when he was 10 points down.
Wow.
Now, part of that
0-43.
0-43. Now, part of that is being on a terrible team, and that's 10 or more points. So, most of the time he was down 30, being on a terrible team. So, you got to kind of take this in context. But the bottom line is he'd never come back from 10 points down, and he did it yesterday. Of course he did. You know why? Because they had to have it. They had to have it. So the big plays in the second half that he made time and time again are just becoming commonplace. But I'm just saying, folks, appreciate what you're watching. I don't know if you're ever going to see another season like Baker Mayfield just had in the regular year. Now he might have better numbers, and there's no reason to think that he won't continue to get better. But it's hard to do in this league. It's hard to average 30 points a game in this league. It's hard to do what we just said, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 71% completion percentage. It's only 5 guys have ever done it, and every one of them are in the Hall of Fame or headed there. So Baker just doesn't get his due, and I don't know why. I think it's probably because of his stature. He's a small guy. It took Drew Brees a long time for him to get his due. You just have to put up numbers after numbers after numbers, and finally you push the door down. And I think Baker's in the process of doing that. But he's still, he gets snubbed for the Pro Bowl. He's still going to not get the respect of some people. But you can't deny what he's done on the field.
Yeah,
and numbers pale in comparison. And as good as those numbers are, they pale in comparison to his actual impact on the team.
Right. And keep in mind, again, who he was following. He had to follow the greatest of all time, who came to this city, who chose this team, and won a Super Bowl in their own stadium, which will probably never be done again. He had to follow that guy. okay, which was at the time like the oldest roster in the NFL. Now it's like the second or third youngest roster in the NFL, and they've gotten better since that 2022 season, every season since. Like they always say you don't want to follow the guy. You want to follow the guy that came after the guy.
Exactly.
Baker Mayfield just came in with no expectations. 1 year, $4 million, incentives up to $8 million. And he parlayed that into a 3-year deal where now he's getting like $33 million or something like that. And compared to some of the quarterback play I see around the league of guys who are making $20 million more than him per season, he's one of the biggest steals in the entire league. And he just feels like Tampa Bay. He's grabbed this city by the throat. Everybody loves him. The way he hypes up a crowd with these runs, it feels very Mike Allstott-esque.
Yes.
I feel like that was probably the same quality that Mike had back in the day when the Bucs were doing nothing offensively, but they would give the ball to Mike and he would reel off one of these crazy runs where he's just smashing off guys and won't go down, and that got Raymond James Stadium into it. That to me is what Baker Mayfield is for the current iteration of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that you're getting that from your quarterback. And that doesn't happen so much around the league.
Yeah, we need to find a sound effect for Baker runs. Like, I don't know what it is, man. You guys can help me with something. We had the A-Train whistle. That was an obvious one, right? I don't know what you do for Baker. You fire the cannons. Are we allowed to fire cannons? Because that, if we can't do finger guns, then are we allowed to fire the cannons?
I tell you what, that made the Jalen McMillan, that made the throw and the catch by McMillan, ball don't lie. The karma. I don't know what we were doing. It felt like over the TV, I've never heard Raymond James Stadium boo in unison like they were for 5 consecutive minutes. When they were trying to say that was going to be first and goal from the 24, the ref didn't even know their own rule. They brought Blandino on the broadcast and he's like, I don't know what they're doing here. It's obvious it should be 1st and 10, not 1st and goal. I mean, that whole ordeal, they shouldn't have. McMillan's been doing that all year. Yeah. I believe never got called for it once.
By the way, it's not finger guns. It's his first down.
I don't know. It's the NFL's. You know what they are, but
let me just spend a moment on this, if I might. Your stupid ass woke virtue signaling is going to do nothing to stop gun violence. Nothing. Zero. It's dumb. It's stupid. Yes, we're firing the cannons. And by the way, if you go look at the NFL official Twitter account, they show the Jalen McMillan play. And you know when they cut it off? The 12 seconds of editing after he does his, quote, finger guns. So you're actually using his celebration to promote your league. But you're calling a 15-yard penalty on it. And the fact that he told me he has a broken finger, and that's why I didn't even know that. Did you know that? Jalen McMillan is playing with a broken finger. Yes. He told me that after the game when I asked him about the tape. He said, I have a broken finger. That's why my fingers are taped up, and that's why it looked like, quote, finger guns. Stupidest thing ever. I asked Todd Bowles, I said, did you argue the point? And he's like, well, once they say finger guns, it's done. I would have been you wouldn't have been able to get me off the field. you would have had to restrain me. I mean, it's the dumbest. In that moment, you're going to make that call, that subjective call. In that moment, you're going to infer that that's somehow finger guns and not a bow and arrow. Maybe it was a crossbow. Maybe it was a bow and arrow. So is that allowed? I don't know. Could it have been a squirt gun? Those pump guns. Could it be that? Is that?
I don't know. I mean, Beyonce was imitating. Exactly sure Beyonce on Christmas Day on Netflix was doing the gun celebration.
Oh my God! Did they? I don't know. Why did they not cut the feed right there, bro? Why did they not cut the feed right there? I mean, it is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Listen, if you don't want that in your game, circulate a memo and tell the players not to do it. It should not be a penalty. And to call it in that moment, can you imagine? And this is very doable. And the reason there was confusion going on in my mind was they're getting calls from New York because they're connected to the New York and the brass. And there's probably an argument going on between some woke idiot who made up the rule. It's like, oh, no, you've got to enforce this in this particular month. This is the moment that we have to have it enforced because it's really going to have an impact. And I'm like, and somebody else is going, no, this is going to cost them the championship of the NFC South. This is the dumbest thing we've ever done in our lives. But no, you can't refer to, oh my God, is the gun saying, oh my God, somebody's going to die. I mean, it's just the dumbest shit ever. I can't even, and if you stick to that call 1st and 25, then you screw up the call because you're so flustered of what you just have done. And there's arguments probably going on over the headset of what should we even call the penalty? Should we pick up the flag? He should have come on the mic and said, all right, this was the dumbest shit ever. I don't know who came up with this idea, but we're not going to make this call in this particular moment because it's an effing football game. And everything is on the line. These guys have worked for their entire lives to get to this moment. And it's for us to make some stupid inference on some dumb virtue signaling penalty that we're going to make has to be the dumbest crap that we've ever thought of in the NFL. And damn, we've thought of some really stupid shit. So this could be the worst. First down, Bucs at the 8. Let's get going with some football. That's what he should have done.
Yeah, and I even think like Vita Vea, I think, did it too earlier this year when he like got a sack and then he went on the ground and did something similar. And he didn't get called for a penalty, but then later he gets fined like almost his entire game check over it, which is just, it's ridiculous.
What are we doing?
It's nonsense, but it is what it is. But again, the fact that the play after that he throws an absolute seed to McMillan, to me, it's like the Bucs got
lucky. The NFL's lucky they scored there, because if that would have and could have very easily cost them the game, and then of course, the Falcon later on, so it wouldn't have mattered. But if that would have ended up costing them a division championship, costing Mike $3 million, because that stuff probably never happens either, costing Baker 2.5 in his incentives, costing everybody else, costing all of this carnage because of that stupid shit.
Could have cost Todd Bowles' job.
Exactly. It could have caused
a lot of ripple effects from that call.
No, absolutely. 100%. Because of that stupid call. Are you freaking kidding me? The NFL's lucky that Baker Mayfield and Jalen McMillan are so effing good, because that just took all the talk away. Because first and goal from the 25, chances are you're not scoring.
No.
Chances are you're not scoring. And who knows where the game goes after that. So I couldn't believe what I was watching. I could not believe what I was watching. Like, you got to, in that moment, you're going to make that call? Are you out of your effing mind? All right, that's enough. I want to move back to the more positive things. The play that Baker makes to Bucky Irving for the touchdown. And by the way, let's debate this a little bit. There are a lot of people saying Bucky should have gone down at the 1 in a 1-point game.
No,
someone explain,
absolutely not,
or gone down at the 6, so we make sure Mike gets the record. We'll talk about the record thing in just a little bit, but I don't get that. The Saints had 2 timeouts, so if you don't score there, you're still up 1, right? You can't run the clock out. Right? They have 2 timeouts, or am I doing the math wrong? I might be doing the math wrong, but I don't think you can just take a knee and win the game at that point. Or if you kick a field goal, they're still going to have some time left to come back.
Yeah, I don't think you could start kneeing and everything. And by the way, I don't want to leave any doubt. I mean, chances are the Bucs still find a way to score and everything and all that, but the moment was right there in front of you. I don't think Bucky Irving in that moment is thinking about, Mike's maybe he is, I don't know, but leave no doubt. I mean, when it happened though, it kind of was like, at least for me, it was like this deflating feeling, like he scored, and yet I'm like screaming at TV, no, he's going to finish with 995 yards because of this. And then I'm like looking at the clock, and the way that it panned out, JP, I was like, okay, the Saints still have 2 minutes left. They have a couple timeouts. This is a situation where the Bucs defense usually does not come up in the big moment, because I know that they're going to be playing off coverage. Yep. And they're probably going to complete a bunch of passes to the sideline with no resistance. And there's a chance the Saints could tie this game up and we're going to go to overtime. And that's how I was thinking. That's the only way Mike's going to get the record. Right. Little did I know the Buccaneers defense was going to make a stand after they allowed the Saints to get into field goal position in like 3 plays. Then they make a stand, and I'm like, oh, wow, the Bucs got the ball back with 36 seconds. And then from there, we all knew it was coming.
So, all right, so let's drill down on this. First of all, I'm thinking it's Todd Bowles. This is, Tortorella was safe as death. Bowles is safe as life, like as we witnessed in the first half, that defense. It's just, I'm like, there's no way he's just going to take a knee, and then come into the press conference and say, hey, you can't take a chance. You cannot take a chance on something like that. Ball gets intercepted. Mike fumbles the football. They scoop and score. Like, there's risk here. We have, all we had to do is take a knee. I'm not going to be that coach that risks, getting these things are going through my mind. Right. And I'm like, oh, no, don't. And then I'm like, no, he can't do that. The entire crowd is standing. Like, dude, it's 36 seconds left. The play is taking knee, and the entire crowd is standing on their feet. And as soon as they got the ball back, I saw Mike grab his helmet. I said, okay, good. All right, good. He's going back out there. And I'm like, all right, now they're not going to take a knee, right? What play are they going to run here? And then I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, the Saints are going to take their nose tackle and line them up over, because it doesn't matter. You're going to take off and run the other way, right? They're going to take the nose tackle out there, surround him by 5 defensive backs, and Mike Evans is not even going to get off the line. That's what the Saints are going to do. I'm not joking here. If you go, why not put 4 guys over there in jam position and he never gets off the line, right? You could have done that. You could have, if you're the Saints, you could have done that. It's like, oh, you're going to try to get the record? Not on us. Watch. Right? But they didn't. They didn't do that. And you know what? High marks to them. As I ripped them a lot for being a cheesy, cheap organization. But to Rizzy and the whole group there, they played it straight up. They played it straight up. I'm not going to say they allowed him to get it. It's, it's a nice play.
It was a solid little play call there to get Mike wide open.
And by the way, I asked Mike about the play call, and he said it was the same play call that Bucky scored on. Now, obviously, that was improvisation by Baker getting out of the pocket. And, we were all looking for Mike, and I think Mike was open on the play, but Baker didn't make the throw for whatever reason. And then, he kicks it out to Bucky, who goes and scores. Now, by the way, another great improvisation play. I mean, that's the game-winning touchdown. Are you kidding me? But back to Mike. So they go out and they line up, and then they take a timeout. And I'm like, what are we doing? Is he rethinking this?
That's what I thought too. I'm like, they're not going to run a play.
What are we doing? Like, he's not going to do this. And this is giving, I'm like, oh, now you've given the Saints time to think it through. Because Mike said that they were talking about the whole game, watch 13, don't let him get it, don't let him get it. So they were talking about it the whole time on the field. So I'm thinking, oh, now they're going to go line up everybody out there and just deny him getting it. But they lined up, basically in the same formation, I think, and they ran the play. And Mike caught it 3 yards off the line, by the way.
Yeah.
He needed the yak, and he got it. So
that's the most I've ever seen Mike go for actual yak like that in that little situation.
Yeah.
Usually he just sort of turtles up,
Yeah, right. And so he makes it, and the place just goes nuts. I mean, and he's, and then in a live ball situation, because the clock's still running, right? He spikes the ball, and I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be a penalty. But it's an after the foul penalty, it's after the play penalty, so it's still good. But Adrian Hill, idiotic referee that he is, Mr. This is the third quarter, whatever. Didn't make the call. Thank God, because that's a penalty. Could have called it. And he gets the record, and the rest is history. It's such a, it's the worst part about it. And I said this to him, and my question on the podium was, it's an individual record, but it's not, because, and I think I asked Bowles this, he's such a team guy. Yeah. And that's true, because that record was just not Mike's. That record was for the fans, clearly. Yep. That record was for the offense, for the team, for the organization. It was. I was going to say
that Mike chasing the record yesterday and then getting it on the final play. It almost, to me, that the Buccaneers making the playoffs for the 5th year in a row, winning the division, took a backseat to what Mike Evans was doing. It felt like that. Yeah. And the reaction. I mean, that's the greatest thing. You talk about the word culture and how sometimes that could be an overused word. But look at the reaction from everybody on that sideline when Mike got that record. I mean, Mike, I never see Mike usually even get that fired up either. Usually he's a very mild-mannered man, and he was so into it. You could tell that meant a lot to him. It meant a lot for the team to get that. And for the fan base, I know we talk a lot about Mike and his impact, his legacy, and we're going to do that, whenever he decides to hang him up. And I think he's got plenty of years to go before we get to that point. But what this guy's meant to the community, the fact that he was Jason Licht's first draft pick in 2014, and there were many of you, and I know who you are, who were screaming for Johnny Manziel to be drafted with the 7th overall pick in the 2014 NFL draft. And Jason Licht makes a very smart decision to go get the guy that he was throwing to in college, and Mike Evans, and to have this sort of longevity that he's had with all the success piled in, everything that he does for the community, The fact that he was here when the Bucs were still the Yucks and he had to play with some crap quarterbacks over the duration of his career, he never complained. He never bitched about it one time, as far as I remember. And now it's paying off, and he never got the recognition because that's what happens when you play in Tampa Bay. But this year, finally, it seems like everybody around the NFL has opened their eyes to the fact of, you know what? Mike Evans is an all-time player, and we probably haven't given him his due, and now he's getting it, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I think Mike Evans yesterday officially entered himself into that Mount Rushmore sort of discussion. I know that that's very subjective. He's obviously the best offensive player the Buccaneers have ever had. And again, just you want to see good things happen to good people, and Mike's an awesome dude.
Yeah, no question about it. And that's why it resonated so much. If he was, a me guy, no one would care, really. I mean, some would, but it would be a footnote. But it's not, and I love that. As Nathan Elliott said, he was in the crowd yesterday. People were in tears of joy for Mike Evans making the big catch. More Right Rudder says, I was tearing up all the way in Dallas. It's like everyone jumping up and down was pretty cool. And this is something that James brings to the table that I think is very interesting because I wasn't watching, the TV or the TV coverage. He said, TV highlight shows focus more on the $3 million bonus versus the record. The so-called pundits are clueless, and it proves they really don't do any research on the money they make. It's like nobody in the post-game press conference it mentioned the $3 million. I mean,
JP, I didn't even know until yesterday. We were talking about it in our work chat yesterday about Mike's getting the record and everything. And people were focusing on, well, he's actually getting the $3 million incentive bonus and everything. And we were having this discussion about, they were saying like, I doubt the Bucs want him to get the record because then they have to pay him $3 million. And I'm like, listen, this is news to me. I didn't even know till yesterday, halfway through the game, that Mike Evans was going to get a $3 million incentive by getting 1,000 yards. I had no idea. I don't know how many people in Tampa Bay land did because it was never a point of discussion. You know what? There's some owners out there who could be really cheap and really stingy, and they don't want guys to get those incentives. The Bucs have never been that way. Remember when they got Rob Gronkowski his incentive, I think during the 2020 season or 2021 season? I forgot what it was, but they got him the amount of catches he needed for that. And then yesterday from Mike, it was such a big talking point that we have to get this guy the record. We have to get this guy the record. The money never came a part of it. But you know what? I'm happy Mike got it because Mike took a pay cut to stay here and has altered his contract over and over to help the Bucs and keep a competitive roster. So the fact that he got his $3 million, shout out to him.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? It's $3 million.
Yeah. And I think Bake got 2.5, but no, and I saw Brian Glazer after the game. I was going to stop and ask him, but he looked like he was on the move. But I would say to myself, you know what? If he came up 5 yards short, the Bucs would have found a way to pay him. They would have found a way to pay him in some personal services contract or something. They would have paid him. And by the way, I forget who told me yesterday in the press box. Oh God, I wish I could give him credit. But anyway, there was a point earlier in the season where Bowles took a penalty instead of give Mike at a 9-yard gain, and it was 4th and 1, and there was an offsides penalty or something, and he took that to make it 3rd and 5, which is probably the right call. But or something to that effect, and that would have been the difference if he would have came up 5 yards short, because that had to come off the Bucs.
We could have saved all the theatrics of the drama. I think in the third quarter, or maybe it was the early fourth quarter, when Mike did. I think he was on like a slot fade or something, and he had like 2 or 3 steps on the corner, and Baker threw it to the sideline.
Yeah,
and Mike has a chance to go for 6 on that play if the ball hits him in stride.
That's a 50-yard. touchdown.
Yeah, that's the record right there. So that would have saved all the theatrics. But I mean, given how it happened, the Bucs were able to win the game. I like that it happened the way that it did because it gave us this special moment that we were able to rally around. And the fact, again, the guy essentially missed 4 games because he missed 3 quarters in that Baltimore game.
Right.
Then he missed 3 games after that. We all saw that he had to average so-and-so like over 100 yards for the last whatever games to get it. And it seemed unlikely. But Mike Evans, you know what he does? He does what great players do. And Mike Evans was the best receiver from week 11 on when he got back from his injury. How do I know that? Because the numbers tell me. 669 receiving yards week 12 on. That's the most in the entire NFL of any receiver. Mike Evans was, everybody talks about, everybody talks about Mike Evans like, oh yeah, it's impressive. But how many times was Mike Evans a true top 5 guy
and
in
think
his
about
career?
That. And the Bucs
but you know
needed
what?
every win.
The Bucs needed every win that they needed to go down the stretch 6-1, like you mentioned. Probably should have gone 7-0 if not for the hiccup in Dallas. They needed Mike Evans to play at his best, and he was the best receiver in football for the final 7 weeks of the season. So for all of you that try to tell me that he was never a top 5 guy in his career, you can shove it, because here in age 31, coming off an injury, he was for the final 7 weeks of the season. By the numbers.
Bucs needed every single one of them. They needed every single one of them. And everybody knew that he was the number 1 target. There was no Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan had not emerged yet, right?
Correct. And the other guys on the field were the Sterling Shepards of the world, the Trey Palmers, the Ryan Millers. I mean,
Ryan Millers.
My goodness, everybody knew Mike was getting
Devin
the ball.
Culp out there making plays. Jeez,
Payne Durham catching touchdown passes. I mean, goodness.
So this is from. So in chasing the record, I think we need to again say that was a risk. Like, there wasn't taking the knees to play there in any other situation. So, Paul Stewart brought this up, and he just sent this to me, and I was not here for this, but many of you longtime Buck fans will remember this. Final game of 1984, James Wilder needed 173 yards to break the combined rushing receiving total in a season held by Eric Dickerson. He was 10 yards short when the Bucs went up 41-10 in the fourth with 1:21 left. McKay then tries an onside kick to get the ball back, which drove the Jets crazy. Jets recover and go 35 yards in 4 plays to score, with the Bucs backpedaling into the end zone when Johnny Hector scores. So they're basically letting him score. So the Jets then try an onside kick of their own. Bucs recover, 3 runs to Wilder when all 11 Jet defenders are on him for no gain. Scuffles all over the place after the game. Jets promise revenge and put 62 up on the following year on Lehman Bennett. The Berg told me a great story about how he could have thrown to Kevin House on the other sideline, as there was no Jets within 30 yards of him at the snap. Oh, wow. Great story, Paul Stewart. Thank you for that. So, listen, the Saints could have done the same damn thing. And I was personally shocked that they did not. They just played it straight up. It's not like they gave him the record. He earned it, but, straight up. So a little tip of the cap to the Saints.
A tip of the cap to the Saints, I guess. But, I'm pretty happy that, it came against the Saints. And, of course, because of this, I have to put this tweet up here, which I'm sure all of y'all saw after the game here. Jason Like, Jason Like remembers everything.
Oh, he keeps.
He ain't forgot anything, and we didn't forget about this. And look, the clip was going around yesterday of Cam Jordan a few years ago saying Tampa's gonna just do Tampa things like they always do. And Jason Like says, "Happy we're still doing Tampa things. Have a great night. Have a great night, and enjoy your vacation in Cabo with the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers and everybody else in the league that's now turning their attention to the NFL draft. Have fun with that. Have fun with that."
That's petty with a capital P, and I love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. It's
payback
with a capital P.
Exactly.
As well.
Probably should have mentioned too. Honestly, the Bucs had this one before the game started anyway, because the first thing I saw yesterday in the pregame was that damn duck was on the field. I don't know if this was the duck, to be honest with you, because I thought they had put that duck back into the wild. I don't know.
Of course, no, it's the duck.
Was this the duck?
The duck, yeah.
Jason Licht is holding this duck on the sideline before the game. When I saw the video of Tom Brady walking over and Tom's petting the duck and everything and just spreading his goat mojo onto that duck.
The goat and the duck.
The goat and the duck. Duck meets goat. I mean, it was perfect. I knew right then and there the Bucs had this in the bag. Yeah. I knew it.
Yeah. That Ryan Jensen
was in the building,
caressing the duck.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, yes, fans walking in with plastic ducks. Luckily, they allowed them through the security. Thank you for doing that. I mean, it's just it was such a magical day. And by the way, it was sunny and 69 degrees.
Oh, it was most beautiful day of the year.
It was so perfect. It was so perfect. And then the Bucs go and yuck it up in the first half. I'm just like, are you kidding me? We got the duck here. We got the goat here. We got perfect weather, and we're going to do this. again with the freaking Saints. Are you out of your mind? But Baker would not let that happen.
No,
Baker
and it didn't end up
happen.
It didn't end up mattering. I mean, I'm happy the Bucs didn't necessarily back their way. Like backing their way into the playoffs would have been them losing to the Saints while the Falcons also lose to the Panthers. Like I feel like that would have made everybody go, eh. It feels like you're backing into the playoffs again. But the fact that you were able to go out and earn it, and then the Falcons did what they did, and they lose it overtime by giving up 44 points to the Panthers. Shout out Dave Canales. Shout out Bryce Young. Thank you for that. Yeah. Hate that for Michael Penix, but you know what? You're on the rival right now.
Lonnie Wilkins says the Goat and the Duck would be a great name for another hipster cafe on Central. I'm going to promise you this, Lonnie Wilkins, right now. If the Bucs win the Super Bowl, I'm opening up a small beer pub somewhere in a trendy area and calling it the Goat and the Duck.
The Goat and the Duck.
The Goat and the Duck. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And Baker's going to hang out there till he's 95 years old. Yeah. And tip Guinnesses or whatever it is he drinks there.
And I think Bucky Irving got it wrong. He said this was going to help the Oregon win the national championship. He got it completely wrong. I mean, this is going to help the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl as far as I'm concerned.
No. Yeah, that bye week didn't help much, did it? All right, we'll take a break. I want to come back on the other side and get to all these comments. You guys are killing it in the comments. I'm going to get to that and keep this Bucs mojo going. We got some sound as well. We're going to hear from Baker. We're going to hear from Mike Evans. I'm just trying to get the Cody Mock conversation there as well. If not, we'll do that tomorrow. Lots more to get to as we celebrate the Bucs' fourth straight NFC South Division title. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Scott Jeeves and his team of attorneys over there will fight for you aggressively. So if you have any legal questions whatsoever, they will give you a free case evaluation. So just give them a call. Just go through the website, email, or call them at thejeeveslawgroup.com. Great folks over there. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. The Jeeves Law Group, non-attorney spokesman, office at St. Pete, Tampa. Back in 3. Hey, it's football season, and we welcome back the Gator Report every Monday and Friday, sponsored by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Just go to the website. You can contact them through there. Scott Jeeves is a tremendous, aggressive attorney and a big Gator fan, so we appreciate him supporting this show and, of course, your Florida Gators. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Whether it's personal injury or anything else, any law matter at all, it's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Give them a call. Tell them JP sent you. So many of our Tampa Bay neighbors are finding out the hard way from Hurricane Helene that homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You must have flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Immediately call Italiano Insurance at 813-877-7799, and they will shop around to find the best policy before rates go up. Lock it in. Over 60% are underinsured in Florida, or you're not getting your discounts that you're entitled to. So do an insurance checkup at Italiano, and they could save you thousands of dollars. Italiano will make sure you're with a highly rated insurer, so there are no surprises in your time of need. Our hearts go out to all our neighbors devastated by Helene. These are the times we're proud to protect all the pieces of your life. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Old Hurricane Helene put a hurting on Tampa Bay, and for many of you, the rebuild will be a long process. You must beware of unscrupulous contractors offering up quick fixes for incredible prices. It's a scam. So go with long-standing, reputable companies like Third Generation Plumbing and AC. My friend John Rodriguez has been serving Tampa Bay since 1995 with hundreds of 5-star reviews. If you need a new AC system or any home repairs from Helene, they will work with insurance companies to get you taken care of quickly, expertly installed, of course, and a 1-year maintenance plan and 10-year warranty included on all AC units. 0% financing for 60 months. Contact them at thirdgenerationplumbing.com or 813-961-8024. That's 813-961-8024, thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, one of South Tampa premier traditional Italian restaurant. We were recently voted number 3 on Open Table list of Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants. We're very proud of that because we take great care of preparing each dish by hand with homemade sauces, pastas, only the freshest local ingredients. You won't see the big institutional vendor trucks pulling up to our back door. We get our seafood from local vendors. Sometimes I even drive out to Topper Springs and pick out our daily catch right off those boats. So stop by and say hello. Try our traditional lasagna, the fresh veal, some of our signature dishes like capelli al granchio, that is angel hair with lump crab meat, our branzino, that is a sea bass. We're located at 4205 South McDill, and you can make a reservation on Open Table and read all the great reviews. See you soon. Ciao. Grazie.
Let's go! Right now. Back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on Victory Mondays. The Bucs. We got to not mention this. Excuse me, got a little pop working. They will play the Commanders. 8 o'clock, Sunday Night Football. Prime time.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Is it sad that
Would you like to give us the numbers on prime time?
I think they've lost 6 straight games in prime time the Buccaneers have under Todd Bowles.
0-4.
0-4 this year, 6 total. When it was announced that it was a night game standalone on NBC, I was like, "Oh boy!" And I was a little shocked that the NFL would put it's Tampa Bay. I mean, the Bucs never are gonna. I was surprised given the other matchups, especially like Green Bay and Philly or something like that. I was a little shocked that the Bucs got that Sunday night slot.
Well, it's probably because those other teams bring the fans whenever they play, right? Whenever they play, they're gonna get the number. So give the Bucs the advantage of the Sunday night solo stage, prime time to get the numbers up.
Yeah, and to be fair, listen, this is the playoffs. I mean, every game is really in prime time, and the Buccaneers last year they played a night game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was an absolute drubbing of the Eagles. So, I mean, that's welcome to the playoffs. The Bucs are no stranger to it.
Yeah, so they'll be. I think it's more, if you go look back at all those games, there's a lot more reasons for them to. The Cowboys game was weird. Like, that should not have happened. And the Bucs were tight. There's no question about it.
They were tight yesterday to start the game. And that's the one thing that's just weird about this Bucs team is when it's in a big game moment where everybody's watching or something's on the line, they just come out really tight. Yeah. And, you can get away with that against New Orleans Saints. You can get away with that against Carolina Panthers and some other teams. But now we're going to see. I mean, you can't afford to just play no defense for 2 quarters straight and have your offense take a while to get going as well and try to save you the game. I mean, the Buccaneers, up until yesterday, the Buccaneers this season were 0-6 when not scoring first. They were able to snap that this year. But that just highlights how important it is for this Buccaneer team to get out in front early.
So, by the way, we're brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. Their after holiday sale is going on right now. 50% off everything in the store. Oh my God, 50% off everything in the store. Already low prices. So they want to get rid of this inventory, bring in new stuff. You're the beneficiary of that. So go to the Gold and Diamond Source, get 50% off everything in the freaking store, and 0% financing as well. So if you don't have the money right now, you can still pick up that great ring. Pop the question for 2025 and get all those savings. So head on over to the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. And obviously this is going to be a very different game than week 1. The Commanders are a different team. The Bucs are a different team. So, but you can't go out there in the first half and give these teams leads and think you're going to come back against the better teams. It does not happen. Even against the Cowboys, you just came up short. So the question is, if you're making these halftime adjustments, like, why can't you make the adjustments quicker in the first half or start the game with a better game plan?
I do not know. It's part of the reason why, like, we're having fun today and everything, and I want to keep it as positive as possible, but now we have to turn the page to the playoffs.
Right.
And I think everybody will tell you I think everybody will tell you that we trust this offense tremendously to do anything to bail this team out when they need to.
They've been consistent.
Man, that defense, and of course, obviously Jordan Whitehead. I mean, Jordan Whitehead honestly was not playing well this year to begin with, but then obviously he gets involved in a car accident, which was a scary situation. Don't know the extent of his injuries, but obviously it's enough that he will not play again this season probably. So you're
I think
once
somebody
again
mentioned the other person that was involved in the accident is still in the hospital and has serious injuries. I think I'm not sure about that, but so yeah, it was a serious thing.
Yeah.
And,
so I mean, you're watching Josh Hayes out there playing. I mean, that scares me if I have to have Josh Hayes out there in a playoff game taking meaningful snaps, or if it's Ryan Neal or whoever. They need Antoine Winfield Jr. back. I'm sure he's probably going to play in this game, to be honest with you.
He practiced last week.
Even if he's not 100%.
Yeah, if it was a playoff game, he probably would have played.
So, I mean, the Bucs, they're going to have to get takeaways. I mean, the Bucs takeaways have been hard to come by. I think the Bucs have like 7 interceptions this year, which is crazy. Even yesterday, in moments in that first half, there's certain plays that I feel like were there to be made on the ball, and Zion just can't buy one right now. I mean, nobody can. So,
did you see the one with Mike Edwards?
Yes. Oh.
So basically, Spencer Rattler throws a jump ball because he's trying to just throw it away. And Mike Edwards is back there. He's got plenty of time to get under the ball. And so he takes 2 steps back and goes to jump. And as he jumps, both of his calves cramp at the same. So I could tell because he got no lift. It was like a nothing. It's like instead of jumping, he fell backwards. And then he was on the ground with cramps. So I'm guessing that when he went, have you ever done that? When you go to jump and you cramp up and you just flinch, you can't jump. And so he got no lift and the ball just goes right off his hands. I'm like, are you kidding me? We cramp up right at the moment of interception and we can't get the freaking interception. It's like, Jesus, so unlucky. All right, let's get to some of the comments here. James is still bitching. Says Liam needs to run the ball versus Washington. I agree with you. Atlanta ran all over them, and they are not a good run-stopping D. So Liam needs to stop being cute with play calls. Let's tap the brakes on Liam. He still has much to learn. I ain't tapping the brakes on shit, Jim.
I mean, there are certain
every call is not going to be perfect.
No, right? I mean, there is certain times though. There are certain times where it feels like they have opportunities to just run it down a team's throat. Because it is, they're obviously one of the best teams in the league at doing it. And sometimes they get a little pass happy. Like yesterday, I think they started the game with 10 passes and two runs, which was a little bit of it. But I think they were I think Mike was on the mind maybe of Leon at that time. And especially they ended up the first quarter, they had no completions to Mike. And I'm sure everybody was starting to get concerned. So, I would lean on that ground game 100%. And as you saw yesterday, Rashad White only got 17 snaps yesterday. It was the Bucky Irving show.
Yeah. And I don't think Bucky was 100% healthy yesterday. I think he lacked some burst. What did you see?
Maybe, but he still ended up with over 100 all-purpose yards. He looked just fine on the play at the end where he had to beat the linebacker to the pylon. I'm sure nobody's 100% healthy right now, to be honest.
He was constantly stretching, doing that hurdle stretch in the yoga move in the huddle, in between breaks. You wouldn't have seen it, but he was constantly doing that. I don't know. My eyes told me he wasn't right. Evans versus Lattimore again in Washington. Yes. So for this new,
we just can't get away from this guy.
New Orleans mayor admits city might not be safe for the Super Bowl, says Michael LaRue. Good morning to you. Yeah, these are also the same people that found sophisticated bomb-making materials in his rental home. He traveled to Egypt now and Tampa and Montreal in the past year. There's a lot of things that normal people just don't have laying around or are very hard to get, but yet the FBI wants to definitely tell us that he's working alone. I'm not going to get sidetracked here, and this, when that's after they send out an FBI agent with a nose ring an hour after it to tell us that it's not terrorism. You can't make this up. You just can't. Moving on. That was the Bucs' first win after not scoring first. Yes. And that's a thing, by the way. And I don't know what that is, but they're not good at chasing games for sure. James says the Bucs play on both sides of the ball. They did in the first half. It's one and done. But if they can win and Eagles beat the Pack, I like our chances in Philly. Look, this offense is balanced. It can beat you running. It can beat you throwing. And that's what's important. The Brady offense, for most of the time became totally pass dependent. Now during the Super Bowl, of course, they had playoff Lenny and a ground game that really, really worked. But after that, it became very pass dominant. And
and by the way,
this is a better, more balanced offense, and it'll work better on the road in the playoffs in the cold.
Yeah, and by the way, the Buccaneers are also not just sticking to one sort of package on offense. They could play in any different personnel grouping that you'd like. They can put any sort of personnel out there in general, and they can beat you in any way. And I feel like the thing that makes the Bucs offense so scary, and we've never seen this before, is I think us watching, we have no clue what's coming next. Right. We never know. Exactly. Liam Bag, everybody talks about Ben Johnson and his bag of tricks, and yeah, he's the trick play king and everything, and I'm certainly not discrediting him. But Liam Cohen, I mean, he's got a big bag too. Yeah. And he'll pull out certain plays where he could just scheme guys wide open, and you're just like, wow. It just takes you back.
Unlike the Lions, who use some of those silly, creative, and effective plays in times when they didn't need them and expose them to film study of other teams, Liam hasn't done that. He saved them for the playoffs.
Honestly, I don't even know if you even need them. I mean, the Bucs, they beat up on anybody straight up. Exactly. I mean, we're talking about the Bucs. The Bucs did not have their A offense game. I mean, you look at this stretch that they've been so great here, where they had like a plus 96 point differential, I think, over these last 7 games, which is the most they've ever had ever in their franchise's history in a 7-game stretch. Like their offense, how many times did you say that the offense actually played their A game? Like maybe in the Chargers game, and the Panthers game. I mean, obviously the Giants, but everybody does that against the Giants.
I thought they were pretty good yesterday. They just didn't have the ball in the first half.
Yeah, but my point is though,
except one.
My point is though, it's like their off games, or the games where they're not as clean as an operation, they're scoring 24, 26, 27 points. It's not like they're scoring 10 or 13 or something like that.
Exactly. John Hill says, will Jerry Rice pull a Mark Gastineau? Think not. No, I don't think he will. You hurt me. You hurt me, Baker. You hurt me. All playoff games are primetime. No, they're not. Primetime is after 8 o'clock. Not after 4 o'clock. All playoff games. No, did I do that? By the way, Nick, happy Netflix Raw Day.
Oh, big day, big night tonight. Big night tonight, JP.
Why do I have so much more wrestling stuff in my X timeline than I've ever had?
Well, that sounds beautiful, but tonight,
I just don't know what it means.
Tonight, Monday Night Raw makes its debut on Netflix. Going forward, every Monday night, 8 to 11 on Netflix. And tonight is a huge show. John Cena kicks off his 1-year retirement tour tonight. The Rock confirmed last night that he's going to be there tonight. It's going to be epic tonight. In the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, it's going to be big time.
What's the Intuit Dome?
The new Clippers arena. That new Clippers arena that they built.
Oh, is it a new arena or is it the
old it's brand new. This year was the first year where the Clippers play. What's his face? Ballmer built it. So, yeah.
Rick says duck and goat, yummy, a nice Chinese Greek dinner. Yeah, I will be serving goat and duck in my restaurant, by the way. Duck double, stunt duck. I think it was the actual duck. I think they took great care to make sure that they took great care of the duck. Aints fans want a clean house. I was listening to Mike Neighbors yesterday. We'll get him on the show this week. Covered the Saints for a long time, and they love Darren Rizzi. I mean, they listen. They played hard yesterday. They did not quit. I don't know who else is out there. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, but I'd say he acquitted himself pretty good as an interim coach. But I don't know much about it. I don't know much about him. But
I would if I'm a Bucs fan, I would be dying for the Saints to just sign Darren Rizzi. You do that.
But it's funny. It's like who's out there as coaching candidates?
Well, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. The Jets are interviewing Rex Ryan, and Rex thinks that Rex said today on ESPN radio that he believes he's the best man for the job and he's going to get it. The Jets requested to interview Arthur Smith today. I mean, the Jets are just doing the most ridiculous things with this coaching search, but obviously Ben Johnson's the big one out there. By the way, Ben Johnson said he told the Jets, "I'm not interviewing for you." Smart man, but Ben Johnson, obviously Liam Cohen's going to be highly sought after. Brian Flores, people think that he deserves another shot after what happened in Miami. I would tend to agree with you on that. Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins D's. I mean, there's a lot of names out there always, but Darren Rizzi, special teams guy, interim. I'd be pretty disappointed as a Saints fan if that was the hire.
James says, yeah, but Falcons would have won in OT had the Bucs lost. They knew they were out when OT started. They didn't care at that point, but Panthers played great. Yeah, you don't know that. But yeah, I get your point. Paul Stewart says there's a pub near me in Devon, England called the Duck or the Dog and Duck. I don't doubt that. But the Duck and the Goat has a nice little ring to it.
Well, we already have a bar out in Tampa on Beta Bay called the Dog. So why don't we could honestly just add and Duck on it, and we could have the same thing here.
The Red Dog.
The Dog, and to me it's the Dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Red Dog. Well, you need a new one. It's the
Start
Duck
fresh.
and
Start fresh.
I'm going to build it and get all the accoutrement that's needed. James says the Bucs were 0-6 this year when they did not score first. That's right. It's broken. The Goat and the Duck would be a great name for another. Yes, absolutely. This is true. Baker was the difference yesterday. I mean, there were a lot of heroes yesterday, but I think Baker's at the top of the list. Last place, NFC South Saints. That's right. Suck it, Saints. Mike appreciates Baker so much. He said, I could never be mad at Baker. You can't make every play. Media before they trash a player like Baker for a pick might want to rethink the rhetoric. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants perfection. It's impossible to do in the NFL. You're not going to make every play call perfect. You're not going to make every throw. You're not going to catch every ball. Yeah, this is something I think is lost. Also, no one on TV knew that Mike is the first to go 11 straight to start a career. Mike is alone, and that alone makes him a no-brainer for first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah, I mean, I think he already owns the record. I think the record was 9 straight to start the season.
He got that record. He tied Jerry for most consecutive, and Jerry also has 14 1,000-yard seasons in general. And Mike is at 11, so the only thing standing in front of him is Jerry. So can Mike do this for 3 or 4 more years? So that's going to be pretty ambitious, I think. But I mean, because Jerry was putting up 1,000 yards when he was 40 years old.
I know, it's crazy. And Jerry ran a 4.6 at the combine or whatever they had back then. It's 4.6. How about that? Wouldn't even get drafted today with a 4.6.
Right.
Bucks Race Bolt says, nobody gives Levante David respect either. He didn't splash much yesterday.
He made one really good play over the middle of the field where he got like a fingertip on the ball.
Oh, yeah.
That was Jawan Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said that. I mean, Levante David is 35 years old. I think if anybody's watched him this year, specifically in coverage, Father Time has got to him. I think there's no doubt about that. I would probably guess this is going to be Levante's last year. It just seems like if it continues for another year, it could get really bad. And I don't want to remember Levante David as a shell of himself. I really don't. And I've already seen hints of that this year. It feels like they need to completely revamp the linebacker room. And I mean completely revamp. I'm talking the entire room, not just one guy. I'm talking the entire room. So, I mean, we all know.
They need to find I forgot who's going to be on the market this year. There's a really good veteran that's going to be out there, and they don't cost, obviously the inside linebackers don't cost a whole lot of money, but I would invest in a veteran inside linebacker. He's guys 27, 28, who's good, is really good at solid guy. Doesn't have to be great, doesn't have to be a Pro Bowler, but just someone who can really kind of lead your defense. I think it's an underrated part of defense.
Look at the Lions. I mean, the Anzalone. I mean, nobody's going to tell you the Anzalone's an all-pro or somebody like that, but he's a veteran. He calls the defense out there. He comes back yesterday, 7 weeks after a broken forearm. He's the best player on the field last night for the Lions on defense. I mean, that one little switch changed so much for them. Yeah.
Did you see that the zipper that he had? Stitches.
That was nasty.
Ugh. And I think the quote was, everybody wants to be a dog until you have to endure the pain that it takes to go through all this and get back. And he's right.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what these guys go through to get back and the rehab that's because it's not like regular rehab. I mean, you're trying to speed it up as fast as you can go. So there's going to be a lot of pain involved.
Yeah. Oof. And then meanwhile, the NFL's like, hey, we want you to play 3 games in 11 days during the holidays after 15 games already that you've played. Suit up.
Money. James says, never did I think Bowles would take a knee. This was about the organization, respect for Mike Evans. The risk was worth it. That play could give Bucs a spark to go far in the playoffs. Players have to respect the coaches. I agree. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it didn't cross your mind even a little bit. Did it cross your mind even a little bit, Nick?
I just felt like there was so much pressure because of the fans. And I even think that I heard that they said that the Jumbotron immediately when the Bucs got the ball back, they immediately panned to Mike Evans and everything. I feel like there was so much like pressure for him to call a play there, for them to call a play. And if they wouldn't have done it, like would people have been booing? Could that have happened?
Oh God, yes.
You win the NFC South and people are booing.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh my God. There would have been a revolt in the stands. It may not have been booing, but it would have been just like the muttering, like, what did we just do? Like, are you serious? Like what? And then he would have, I mean, am I completely bonkers here? I mean, I'm glad he didn't, but it crossed my mind. Because you're taking a risk. If Tom declines meaningless penalty last week, that negates a 10-yard catch by Mike. We don't need all the drama. That's true. I'm trying to remember the exact circumstances. It was explained to me, and it was a meaningless. Like I think he made the wrong decision. Like, and it cost Mike some yards there. Game On says they're calling out all kinds of player celebrations. The NFL makes a lot of stupid rules. I mean, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't understand why there has to be a penalty. Okay? Fine, guys. Send a memo. Circulate the memos. This is what we'd rather have. Don't do this. Don't do that. There need not be a penalty because you run into things like this that could have really derailed the game. And let me just tell you what, if that happens, do you understand the blowback that would happen today when, the only people that know about this right now are just Buck fans, and maybe some Saints fans. Had this been a bigger game on a bigger stage, I know Brady was here and all that, and I'd be interested to hear what did the broadcasters say about it? Did they say, I mean, dare they? Well, Brady contractually can't criticize the NFL.
I mean, they're not. I mean, they're broadcasters for Fox, yeah, but also for the NFL. I mean, they were pretty like, the rules state that you can't do that. So,
but who said that's what he did? It's completely subjective.
It's subjective. I mean, literally like 10 minutes later, I saw Miles Sanders did like kind of like this too, and I'm like, so what? I'm so confused. Like, what is? I don't know. I mean, they look the same to me.
So I don't think there's any. If you do this. And going first down, okay, I'm doing this for you people on the podcast. We're doing a visual here, but if you do this, you're okay. That looks like a blade or a shotgun.
I'm pretty sure if you do this, you're fine. But when you pull out these guys, I think you're in the area where they're gonna call it. I don't know. I don't make the rules.
The people that do are morons.
Yeah. By the way,
not doing anything. I mean, I could go look at 1,000 things you do in the NFL that create worse issues in society than that.
Yeah, like Antonio Brown quitting on his team and doing jumping jacks in the end zone.
There's a million things I could talk about. I mean, the violence of the game in and of itself. I mean, what are we talking about here?
I don't know. It sounds very kindergarten. Like I told Case about it last night, and she's like, it sounds like something I would tell my kids that are like 5 years old.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It's just the virtue signaling is just, and it may get bigger, but had it cost them the game, the NFL would be in some serious damage control mode today. Sergio Abdul today says this team cannot start out flat in the playoff against the Commanders like they did yesterday. We have to come out strong and score first. Could not agree more. Yeah. Look, this is not the day to talk about the flaws of this team, although obviously we can. But yeah, there are flaws. Yeah. There are lots of flaws. And I don't even want to get into the Liam versus Tom discussion. I know some of you guys have discussion. I know some of you guys have brought it up. It's just not today. We're not doing that today. Maybe later.
But speaking of Liam,
got all off season to talk about that.
But speaking of Liam Cohen, because I think this is relevant. This is not Todd versus Liam, but obviously, teams can start interviewing coaches. That's happening. I have not seen anybody request to speak with Liam Cohen so far. I've been refreshing Twitter. But per NFL rules, the Bucs can keep teams from interviewing Liam Cohen until January 20th, as long as they are still alive in the playoffs. So that is certainly, the more the Bucs win, the more you can keep teams away from him. And I think, as you've been saying, I think as many in this market have been saying, the Bucs are going to do everything they can, even if that means making him the highest paid coordinator. I don't know. They'll do whatever to keep him around, because to me, it's like you're never going to find it higher like that again. The chances of you hitting on a hire like that again are very, very slim. And so, I mean, if you look at the openings around there, there's no better place than to be the play caller for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He's not effing leaving. He's not. If there's one thing I said on Good Morning Football that will go down in history, it's that he's not effing leaving. He's not. There's no way they let him out of the building for many, 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 many reasons. So it's disrespectful to Todd to speak of it now, but I firmly believe that the situation will play itself out respectfully for everybody, and choices that need to be made will be made. But he's not leaving. He's not leaving. There's too much money at stake. He's not, and there's too much success at stake. Everybody knows what's going on, including the Glazers. They all know. Okay, we've enumerated it many times, the positives and negatives of each situation, and I think we all know where we're going with this. Nathan Hill says, referee Adrian Hill is one of the worst officials in the NFL. He always has a terrible game when he is the head referee for Bucs game. I'm going to say this. I haven't looked back at the broadcast except a little bit of the first half, but there were a lot of holding penalties yesterday. There was one on Gedeke for a false start where he was a fraction early. I've seen Chiefs tackles, stand next to Mahomes before the snap and not called for a false start. Why is this crew so intent on calling every single minuscule infraction and being a part of the game and never inserting themselves ever more than that call on Jalen McMillan? It's not what
this if you watch any NFL game, I mean, especially the ones in primetime, it feels like this year that this is a constant thing. It's every crew. And it's like, I don't even know if I blame the crew necessarily. They're taking orders from what the league wants. And apparently this is what the league wants. As a consumer of the product, I hate it. But you know what? Record amount of people are watching the league. So I'm sure they don't really care whatsoever. They're going to legislate what they want to legislate. It's the same thing with the nonsensical roughing the passer rules that you have these days. The hip drop tackle, which I didn't even know that was even a term until last playoffs when that was happening.
I went to a whole symposium on that. I'm taking a picture here because we just hit 1,000 viewers again, as we've done almost all of this football season. So thank you guys very, very much for tuning in. Our numbers have been through the roof, and we really appreciate it. And I think it's because we give you guys the non-corporate media objective view on everything. And we say things that probably you won't find on other places, especially about the Rays. So we really appreciate you guys jumping in and making the show popular. And I hope we're giving you what you need. And on days like this, I mean, could there be enough coverage of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this marketplace? Could there be enough? No. The answer to that is no. Jim Barron, the duck was everywhere. Did they feature it on the broadcast at all?
The duck?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Okay. Especially because Tom was interacting with the duck. They got that in there.
Michael LaRue says Jane Daniels left yesterday's game because of leg soreness, and Marshawn Lattimore missed the game due to a hamstring.
Yeah, well, Marshawn Lattimore's been missing a lot of games over his career with mysterious injuries, so that's something to keep an eye on. Jaden's fine. We know that. I think that was the plan around the league for many of these guys to get like a snap to like get their incentives or whatever, and then they came out. So we know what you're getting with Jaden Daniels next week. We know.
Yeezy says, shout out to Glazers. They could have easily made a call and saved $3 million. They surely care about their players. Oh, trust me, there is no way on this earth.
So amazing how the Bucs or how the Glazers are viewed on this side of the pond as opposed to the other. Right? It's honestly it couldn't be so much further apart.
Well, there was a time here in Tampa Bay where they were reviled for a lot of different reasons. The stadium mess being one of them. But they have more than adequately addressed their misgivings.
I suppose when you're winning, I think everybody forgives everything. And,
I think they learned along the way. I think they learned along the way what you can and cannot do. I mean, when you look at these, Brian, They were. I think they've been unfairly vilified for a very long time, and I think a lot of people see them as being brought up with a silver spoon, because of Malcolm, and that is anything but the truth. Malcolm was a very disciplined and he wasn't giving out. These kids had jobs their whole lives growing up. They worked hard. They learned the hard way. They are anything but silver spoon kids. And I think it just took them a while to realize, in a very high pressure situation, what the best way to be an owner is, and how to do it. But
the biggest
learned on the fly and created an incredible culture here and done everything. They're the best owners outside of Jeffrey Vinnick, in terms of how they handle themselves. A+.
I think the biggest compliment I can give them, and I think it's important for us to give them their flowers today, because I think a lot of times we don't like to do that to owners because, they're billionaires and, they'll sleep at night regardless if they're getting criticism or not. But the Glazers, they brought in Jason Licht 11 years ago. And along the way, up until 2020, if they ever wanted to fire Jason Licht, I think they had plenty to go off of to support that decision. And they didn't. And they stayed the course with Jason. Jason, I think we'll continue to tell you, is a top 5 GM in all of football who doesn't get his due. They landed the big fish in Bruce Arians, which helped them land Tom Brady the year after. The Glazers have done everything possible to try to put a winning product on this field for the past decade. And the best compliment I can give them is they stay out of it. I don't ever hear about the Glazers. They don't do press conferences, really. They don't talk. Jerry Jones is talking before the game. He's talking during the game. He's talking after the game. He's supporting why he's a crappy GM because he bought the team 40 years ago, and that's what he's going to do. And he's stuck in his ways. And there's other owners like the Ursays of the world and the Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross. There's so many owners out there who just cannot get out of the way. The Glazers do that. And that's the biggest compliment I can give to them.
Yeah, I agree tremendously. That is, and behind the scenes, they have done even more. And by the way, the 1,000-yard incentive for Mike, it was an easily earned one for him. He's done it every year. So it was a way to give him more money and not have it hit the salary cap immediately. So, the Glazers were never, they wanted to give him more money. They wanted to do these things. And Mike, of course, was, players have to agree to this. They could get on, and go, well, why do I have to get to 1,000 yards? Why don't you just give it to me? That's why this culture is so good. It's so good. And they've created a tremendous place where people want to stay, Liam Cohen, and don't want to go other places. And coaches are finally realizing it's always not, a greener pasture on that other side like it looks. It's Instagram. It's probably a filter. Hey, I have to make an important correction, and thanks to the folks at the Golden Diamond Source for hitting me up. It's up to 50% off selected items in the store at the Golden Diamond Source. I think I said everything. It's up to 50% off selected items in the store. Lots of them. So there's great bargains to be had at the Golden Diamond Source. Don't get it twisted, but there's legally I screwed up there. So it does not include coins, bullion, and some other items. So I stand corrected there. It's up to 50% off selected items, but there's a lot of stuff that's on sale right now at the Golden Diamond Source. It's a great time to buy. So you get that Christmas cash, right? Get some of those Visa gift cards. Now is the time to go over there to the Golden Diamond Source, get those steals. And as you would attest, Nick, great place to buy an engagement ring, right?
The best
Very easy process.
The best in the business. And I've referred multiple people there who have done their shopping. So the best in the business.
So I apologize for misstating that. It's up to 50% off, not everything in the store. So still get your ass over to the Golden Diamond Source. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get to some more items around the NFL, college football, the Bolts. Rough road trip from the Bolts. I don't know what's going on there, but they'll be home. Hopefully they can right the ship. We are brought to you by the great folks at Cafe Paradiso. Had a great meal there the other night with my daughter, Shay. Oh, my God, the lobster ravioli. I had the grouper paradise, or paradiso, I guess it is, with lump crab meat, lobster meat on the top, and this capers, this cream sauce, mashed potatoes that were amazing, fettuccine Alfredo. It was the best. Cafe Paradiso, folks. If you want traditional Italian, then it's just magical and a great experience. Cafe Paradiso on South McGill. Back in 3. Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. Hey, JP here for the Gold and Diamond Source. There's been a lot of talk about lab-grown diamonds. Oh, they're just like the real thing. No, they're not. They're not the real thing. They're lab-grown. They're fake. You want to give your honey a fake diamond? Not a good way to start off the relationship, folks. Take my word for it. Get the real thing, and no place better to shop than the Gold and Diamond Source. And remember, if you shop anywhere else, you don't know if it's real. You don't know what you're buying. The Gold and Diamond Source has been in business for over 40 years. Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors in our community. You know it's real. It's the only place to shop. And if you're planning to purchase for the holidays, don't forget to take advantage of our layaway offer at the Gold and Diamond Source. You can reserve your favorite piece now and pay in easy installments, making your holiday shopping stress-free. As always, we offer up to 5 years interest-free financing for just $84 a month when you finance $5,000. It's the only place to shop for the holidays. It's the Gold and Diamond Source. 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Hey Tampa Bay sports fans, this is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the US Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right. That's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Geddes Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to gettysgordongroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
Holy moly. I just saw something we'll get to here in a second. Once again, the Gold and Diamond Source, 50% off, up to 50% off of everything, not everything in the store, but it's a great sale going on right now. Their after holiday sale at the Gold and Diamond Source. Don't forget about the Emily collection as well. Very affordable gold and diamond jewelry, distinct. You won't find it anywhere else. And of course, they have interest-free financing 3 to 5 years, 0%. So lots of things to get there at the Gold and Diamond Source. They also have a new men's section that has all the baller watches that you'd like to see, not just one line, but everything under the sun. Great stuff. And of course, the great staff that will help you there at the Gold and Diamond Source. So look at this from Nathan Elliott. Just check my tickets for the game on Sunday. The Bucs have jacked prices up. Last year, playoff tickets were $125. This year, $370. What?
Yeah.
And he says, I don't have fancy seats. Mine are $332 in the front row.
Are these just for his season tickets?
Yeah, season ticket holder.
I was trying to go see what the game is going for right now on Ticketmaster.
Yeah, go check that out. Well, if the face for upper tech is $375, and by the way, I think the NFL sets these prices, not the Bucs, if I'm not mistaken.
Right now, it's the cheapest ticket out there for 2 tickets is $155 a pop before fees. So basically over $200.
Well, his tickets are, front row, the top deck are probably a little bit more desirable. So 375 from 125.
Yeah,
Literally 3 times the cost in 1 year.
Yeah,
NFL, what are we doing?
People are going to pay it. They'll pay it. They'll pay it though.
Yeah, but do you really want to force people to pay that kind of money? I get you can get it, but geez, old Pete's, man.
That's why unless somebody is having me go to a game unless somebody's having me go to a game for free, I am perfectly okay in my office with my screen. I'm good. Trust me, I'm good.
Wow. That's man. That's egregious. Nathan says, I am in my Buccaneers account looking at my tickets right now. Holy hell, dude. I'm going to try to find out more about that from Brian Ford because I know that and again, I don't think it's the Bucs that are setting these ticket prices. I think it's the NFL. Whew, geez, old Pete. Meets McGee says Gruden is linked to the Saints per a New Orleans reporter. He was hanging out there earlier this year, right?
I think it was last year. They had a chance to bring him on as the OC if he wanted it, but I don't think he was interested. But there was a report last week from Tom Pelissero that Gruden was going to be a name to watch in the hiring cycle. And I guess we can sort of transition to that because today is Black Monday.
Yeah.
We've been here before as Bucs fans. It's been a little bit before we've actually been there before, but we're longer Bucs fans know what it's like. Doug Peterson gets fired this morning by the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was expected, but the move that was not expected, that is just goodness gracious. Trent Baalke, the GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This guy has, I don't know how many lives he has, but he continues to survive.
What has he ever done?
He's made terrible hires, and I'll name off the hires for you. He hired Jim Harbaugh, cool, but somehow that whole dynamic, Harbaugh was the one that was let go, and Baalke survived. Then he hired
in San Francisco.
Yeah. Then he hired Jim Tom Sula. Remember him? 1 year.
Oh yeah.
Then he hired Chip Kelly another year before both those guys were fired after 1 year. And then he makes his way to Jacksonville. His first hire is Urban Meyer. I think I'll just leave it there. Survives that, hires Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson's fired.
I thought was a good hire.
Yeah. And now Trent Baalke continues to have a job in the NFL, which with a terrible resume. But you know what? This is why the Jaguars, this is what they do. They have 6 winning seasons since the turn of the century. We're 25 years into that. Only they could draft the generational quarterback in Trevor Lawrence and make him just seem like he's just average at best.
And give him a second contract too.
And give him the second contract and pay him like an elite quarterback.
$55 million, yeah.
I mean, they're just a bad franchise. It's a bad franchise.
That's why I'm so appreciative of what we have here and the Glazers and the way they've run this and Jason Light. I mean, and listen, the Glazers, at one point before they hired Bruce Arians, I love Jason Light. But I think he'd be the first one to say that at that point his resume would have led to a firing. It wasn't great, but one thing that Jason did in that time was admit his mistakes. And what wasn't, and by the way, he built that roster that attracted Tom Brady. So I think that even though the record wasn't where it needed to be, I think the Glazers were smart enough to see, number one, that Jason is a very genuine person, admits his mistakes, was learning, was trustworthy, had a lot of qualities that you really want in a general manager: hardworking, likable, all those different things, smart guy, all these great qualities. And although the record, and while had he been fired at that particular point, no one would have said, wow, that's unfair. The Glazers went beyond what the record and the numbers were and saw the quality of human being he is, and all those things I just mentioned, kept him on. His personal relationship with Bruce Arians was key to getting him out of retirement. Bruce, being the quarterback guru and offensive mind that he was a big reason why Tom Brady came here, a huge reason, and a big reason why they won the Super Bowl. Yeah. So, kudos to Jason Light, but kudos to the Glazers for not pulling the trigger on when many would have thought that he could. Now, in these cases, Trent Baalke, what the hell are you doing, bro?
It's to the point
and not a good human being.
Yeah, I've seen all the
the guy's an a-hole.
Yeah, like all the insiders, they have like their inside sources, I'm sure, with other front offices, and everybody is just absolutely floored that Trent Baalke is staying on for yet another sort of rebuild in Jackson. I mean, they've been rebuilding forever, to be fair, but a new regime, and it's not even like to me, it's like if you're going to pull the plug on everything. Don't just pull the plug on Doug Peterson, who to me now is now I just look at Doug being scapegoated for the whole operation, for the roster that Trent Baalke built. Yes, which is just simply not good enough. And the decisions he's made in free agency. You fired the wrong guy, but bad organizations. Another bad organization, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, and I'm not advocating for you to fire Mike McDaniel. That's not what I'm doing. But Chris Greer, he gets the vote of confidence from ownership to stay on. He's been there for 10 years as a GM. The Dolphins have not won a playoff game since 2000. That is my entire life. They are known for one thing. They're known for one thing. They put up big numbers in September and October when the weather's very nice and they're at the full advantage. And then you know what happens? You play November, December football. They can't win football games. Nope. They just can't win football games. And they have a quarterback that's just unfortunately very unreliable because of his injury history. And now they're going to stay with this GM. So I don't know what these organizations are doing.
And a horrible decision, and this is first guessing, not second guessing, to sign Tua to that long-term contract with his injury. I mean, just a horrible decision there. And then they have a lot of me guys, Tyreek.
Did you see Tyreek Hill yesterday?
Yeah, exactly.
Holy, I've never seen. I mean, I'm sure
you see Mike Evans before. Can you see Mike Evans doing that?
Literally, I mean, from 3 hours, I mean, seeing Mike and everything and watching that, and then seeing Tyreek Hill, who basically makes it sound like, and McDaniel made it sound like too, that he just straight up quit on his team, and basically said, "Yeah, I'm out. I'm going. See ya. Bye."
Yeah, he's AB.
He's a hell of a player, but he's 30 years old and he's got a lot of baggage on that guy. I wouldn't want him in my locker room. No, I'll just say that right now.
No, character matters. The Bucs are proving that, and absolutely not. But this is what Chris Greer chases. Miami, it's funny because I do think the franchises mirror the culture of their cities. Miami is a fake LA. They're a fake football team. They have no substance. They're all hat, no cattle. I don't know what the analogy would be in Miami Beach for that, but
you know what's funny about that though, JP, is Los Angeles doesn't even really mirror what they are. The Rams have the shiny head coach, but Stafford is a gritty quarterback, right? We always describe him as tough and everything. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, I wouldn't tell you are the most Los Angeles type receivers in an offense. And then even if you go to the Chargers, when you bring on Jim Harbaugh, you're playing physical run first football and all that whole thing.
That won't resonate in LA.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like both the LA teams aren't exactly what I would call like mirrored images of LA, but Miami has just always been like this. I mean, they chase the big name, they chase the flash, the speed and all that kind of stuff. And it's what you get now. It's what you get.
It's so good. You're so right. And that wins football games in October and September.
And then the other organization that I have no idea what they're doing, and I can say this for probably the entirety of you as you've been covering the NFL, JP, is the New York Jets, who they want to interview everybody apparently. And the names that I've seen this morning as I refreshed Twitter, I mean, they absolutely floor me. Matt Nagy, Arthur Smith.
I'm telling you, where do you go now?
This is Bobby Slowick, like all these guys. I mean, my goodness, Bobby Slowick probably is a wild card loss away from getting fired by the Texans. Arthur Smith is absolutely terrible and was already a head coach. Matt Nagy, really? I don't care that he's connected to the Chiefs. He can stay there. He's not a head coach in this league. We've already seen how that went. I mean, they're interviewing Rex Ryan. They're interviewing Ron Rivera. Riverboat Ron gets you excited in 2025. I mean, I don't know what the Jets are doing with these. Go after real names, not these guys. These retreads.
And Bill Belichick can't get a job in the NFL. I mean, it's weird times in head coach. And by the way, if the Saints want to hire John Gruden, if I'm a Bucs fan, I wouldn't be concerned.
No,
trying to be disrespectful.
I love Gruden for what he does Gruden loves football and all that kind of stuff. He knows the game. I'm not saying that, but
the
to
Barstool
me,
place is perfect for him.
I just feel like his time on an NFL sideline has passed. I think that's just my take on that. I think it's past.
I do too. I don't think how is he going to recruit players, free agents to come there?
Like, yeah, it's crazy. And also,
I mean, anybody
mind you, all the stuff that happened that forced him to resign in the first place. I mean,
again, you can say, oh, he got a rare, he got a raw deal. Everybody has emails like that, blah, blah. First of all, I don't write emails like that.
I don't know anybody who writes emails like that.
I don't write emails like that. Are there off-color jokes made? Yeah, I don't have to like them, but I'm certainly not emailing people things like that. No way. And those things will resurface, and the players will go, not sure I really want to do that. So I wish him the best.
Could you imagine though if you want to just continue the what do you call it, the soap opera of the Dallas Cowboys, if they fired Mike McCarthy, or they let go or they don't re-sign Mike McCarthy rather, and then they hire John Gruden. Oh my gosh. Gruden, Cowboys, Jerry Jones.
I mean, for the theater of it, I would love
theater of it. Sign me up. I would love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring him back. I would. He's a great personality for the league. And he's a brilliant offensive mind. I don't think he's a great head coach from what I witnessed, and from what the players told me at the time.
We say that all the time, brilliant offensive mind. Unless I'm missing something, how many times did the Bucs have a great offense when he was here?
Bottom third of the league most of the time. If you go back and look at it, the numbers.
And he had a hand, and I'm sure he had a heavy hand in personnel
that were in the top 15, but for the most of the time they were not. This is a good, interesting take by Rick. If you can't make gun fingers, how will Gruden get hired? It's a good point. It's an excellent point. IndyCar Tim says, "I'll take Gruden in Dallas any day." Yes, please.
You have fun with that. You have fun with that.
You imagine Gruden and Jarrah?
I'm telling you, for the theater of it, I would like to see it. But if the Dallas Cowboys want to, get
Jarrah hires yes man, he ain't hiring Gruden. Gruden ain't going to be a yes man for anybody.
That just doesn't seem like a good fit. Doesn't seem like a good fit at all.
No. For me, like, give me the cameras rolling, baby. Let's go. Be fantastic.
Yeah,
great theater. James says maybe NFL doesn't want to pay Gruden in his lawsuit. They know a team like the Saints will hire him. So you get him to drop the lawsuit and get him a head coaching job. So what you're saying is that the NFL really wasn't taking a moral stance because when it comes to money, they'll let him back in. That sounds very NFL.
I'm just thinking of as we talk about the groomers, which they just never go away. Groomers live on forever. Can you imagine
groomers?
We had this talk about the Glazers,
That's GRU,
last segment. Yeah, we had this talk about the Glazers last segment. Could you imagine if they would have caved in? Because I felt like there was a lot of public pressure on the Glazers to fire Dirk Cutter after 2017 and hire John Gruden. I mean, if I recall correctly, I felt like there was a lot of public pressure on that, especially when he went into the Ring of Honor and he was here that night against Atlanta.
Yes. Yeah, bring him back. Bring back
Can
Gruden.
You imagine where the Bucs are now? All of that would have been undone if you had hired John Gruden in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it amazing how one decision or not to make that decision, how the ripple effects of that?
And talk about, and one of the big reasons they didn't hire him, culture. Like, you can't build the type of culture they have now with John Gruden as your head coach. Couldn't do it, in my opinion. So great call by the Glazers and Jason Light to go get Bruce Arians in that group. It was a tremendous call. Michael LaRue says, when you point with a thumb down, you're okay, but when you point with a thumb up, it could cost you. So that's okay. That's not, just trying to make sure. This will have no effect on the world. This will save the world. This will save the world. Thumbs up. It's so stupid. It's so incredibly stupid. Tim says, I'll never miss a live presser with Gruden and Jerry present. Oh my God. There would be looks going back and forth. It would be fantastic. I'm not sure what this is. Is the Rays City Connect Stu subliminal message telling us he's going to skate on out of here? No, But his what was his Thunder Road was his theme of the year. Remember that? Thunder Road?
What year was this?
This year was Thunder Road was his. He always picks a Springsteen song.
Yeah.
And the final line in Thunder Road is, "It's a town for losers, and I'm pulling out of here to win." You won't find that on any other show either. It's a town for losers. I'll sing it. Air Cecil, not seeing you in here. Congratulations for making it in. We love you. Nagy did take Trubisky to the playoffs, and the Bears are not a well-run organization. It's a good point. Took him to the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess you got a point.
With Trubisky.
I guess.
Tyreek better keep playing. Those child support payments are no joke.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Ask AB about that. It's all good, threatening your general manager on the field and taking your clothes off in the middle and quitting on your team. Yeah, that's all good. It gets you lots of clicks, but it don't put any money in your bank account, brother, to pay those child supports. You can't pay those child support payments with clicks. Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Jordan G said, talk about toxic NFL culture. The only one worse than the Cowboys is the Colts, with all the Pat McAfee drama going on. Is hilarious. Yeah, I've never seen a former player rip into an organization like Pat McAfee did a couple weeks back. And the Colts, of course,
he put on
he put on Twitter.
And I was like, I can't go any further on this.
Yeah, it was you gotta have some serious time and some readers to go through all that. But they also, Jim Irsay expressed confidence in Shane Steichen and again another GM who probably has overstayed his welcome, and Chris Ballard, who is going to continue to orchestrate whatever they're doing in Indianapolis. I don't even know if it's a rebuild. They're just sort of like in the middle. They're just in purgatory every year. So again, problems around the league, but it makes the Bucs problems seem so minor, doesn't it? When you see some of these other teams.
James says, also, I think Robert Kraft, speaking of other teams, knew at the intro press conference of Mayo that he effed up with that hire. He couldn't go another year with him. Just a horrible head coaching hire. And you wonder what goes into that. I thought Gerard Mayo would be a great head coach, a good head coach. I didn't, just from the outside looking in, but it's such a hard thing to do, man. It's such a hard thing to do. And so much of it is dependent on your players. You got to have a good roster. I mean,
worst roster in football.
Who the hell's going to win with that roster? And then when you're not winning, it's going to show a lot of things, a lot of warts of the person, how they handle it, you're going to get when you're losing, you're going to get criticized for everything you do.
Right.
It's a hard deal to handle, and you got to have some patience. I mean, firing Gerard, I don't know anything about the guy except what I see. He seemed like a pretty good dude. He was a hell of a player. He certainly was part of the culture that they wanted to recreate and knew it better than anybody. I mean, obviously got huge endorsement from Tom Brady. And
Gronk seemed pretty irritated about it yesterday. It was interesting. There was a moment on the Fox post-game show where they were asking him his thoughts about Mayo. He spoke for like 30 seconds. And then really? it seemed like he was about to start going really in on the Patriots. And all of a sudden, Michael Strahan's cut him off and was like, oh, we got to go to break. We got to go to break, Rob. Sorry. They cut him off before it felt like he was really about to go in on the Patriots for this decision. And it seemed like it's been pretty unpopular amongst a lot of these guys. And of course, I mean, they played with him,
right?
And it felt like, Bill Belichick basically handpicked him to be his successor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he takes over the worst roster in the NFL.
Yes, by far.
And yeah, it was a disaster. But you know what? That's what happens when you're rebuilding. It's going to be a disaster at first, but there had to have been something else that happened behind the scenes that made Robert Kraft just go, yeah, I don't think this is going to work out. And the other part of this too, I feel like Robert Kraft has always wanted Mike Vrabel to be the guy. And I just think this goes back to that friction that was there between Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick towards the end of this, is he probably let Bill say, hey, you want to pick Mayo as your successor, whatever, do it. And now Kraft is like, yeah, well, I have the right to get rid of him if I want to, because I'm the owner of this football team.
That's right.
Bill's gone, and I'm going to go get Mike Vrabel. And I feel like that's exactly what the Patriots are going to do. I feel like the Patriots should go completely away from the old Patriots guard and try to get some new blood, but they're going to do them.
I don't listen, when you won that much, why would you want to go away from it. I would try to find somebody, and I think that's one of the reasons they hired Gerard Mayo is to recreate that culture, and with a better roster.
But you can't do it with 1 year with this roster.
Here's the problem: 90% of what you were doing was tied to one guy, Tom Brady, and you ain't got that guy.
It's true.
You know, and like you want to sit here. The more and more we go further down this road, especially with the Patriots and the fact that Bill Belichick couldn't get a job in the NFL, there's a reason for that, because he wanted full control and nobody was going to give it to him, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. He finally got someone at North Carolina, some sycophant that had lots of money, that wanted to pave the way and let him do whatever the hell he wants to do, and he'll collect the money. And maybe rehabilitate himself and win games, and maybe somebody will hire him in the NFL and he can break the record. I guess that's what the plan is. I don't know. But the bottom line is the reason you had so much success was because you had an otherworldly quarterback. It was the greatest at the 2-minute in the history of the game. And 90% of your wins, the big wins, are 2-minute. Yes, good defense, special culture, get all that. But Belichick is just, without Tom Brady, has been less than average. Mediocre is actually maybe too good of a turn. And that's just a numbers game. So go look at it. So you can recreate all you want with Vrabel and Gerard Mayo and everything else, but if you're expecting the same success because of the culture is important. I believe that, but you got to have dudes too. You got to have dudes, and their roster is awful, and they don't have Tom Brady. So that's how that worked out.
By the way, we did get the update here from Nathan Elliott. Sounds like we're all good. He called the season ticket or season whatever passing. I don't know what that stands for. SPN,
okay.
Relations department. There was an error. Sounds like his tickets are back down to $100. So
okay.
So we're good. We're all good.
I knew there's no way in the world the Bucs were setting ticket prices at $375. That had to be the NFL. There's no way Brian Ford would be okay with that. No way. Yeah, that was probably. Sometimes what they do is they charge you for the whole possible, like it's possible for the Bucs to have 2 home games or 3 home games. They charge you for the whole thing as a season ticket holder, and then they refund you if you don't. You have to accept this postseason package or not, and that's kind of how they do it with the Lightning.
Yeah.
So it's that's what happened. Thank God it's an error, and they're not $375 for upper.
It's gonna be fun though.
Because I was afraid of that. Somebody put in one of the comments was, Bucs fans won't pay that because they can't pay that, but Washington fans would. If the NFL did that, honestly, you would price out a lot of Tampa Bay season ticket holders.
I don't
entire upper deck.
I was actually just going to make that point. I feel like playing Washington. I mean, they didn't have this problem when they played the Philly last year in the playoffs. Obviously, they were able to rectify it. But
Eagles fans gave up on their team. They had lost 6 in a row,
right? And I know the Commanders
money, get their ass kicked.
Yeah, maybe the Commanders. It's been a little bit since they've had a team like this, new ownership. Everybody's so rejuvenated in that fan base. Maybe they travel, but on first thought, I'm thinking okay, that's not going to be a team that's going to be filling up your stadium for a playoff game.
I don't know about that. The Skins, the Redskins, yes, we can say that on this show. The Redskins had a huge following that did travel for a long, long time, but 25 years of Dan Snyder crushed the fan base.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now they're back. It's the best team they've had in a long time.
And it's by no coincidence they're into the playoffs and Dan Snyder is gone. So
how about that?
How about that? Shocking development.
Also, is this the what? So the Buck is just pointing this out too. The last time the Buccaneers went on a Super Bowl run, it was the wild card against the Commanders that started it. So
why did you say that? You won't say it, will you?
What?
You won't say Redskins. You just call them the Commanders.
They weren't
the Commanders when we beat them 14-13.
Okay, here's the thing. I write for a living, and when I write about this team, I'm right. They are the Washington Commanders.
Not back then, they weren't.
No, they weren't, but they are the Commanders.
In my mind, yeah. Anyway, so they beat the Redskins 14-13, and it was, if I'm not mistaken, Brad Johnson threw a pick on the sideline that John Lynch made an incredible play on to seal that game. If I'm not mistaken, yeah. That was incredible atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think they had a game. What was it? 2005 in the playoffs. Those two teams went together. I think Washington. Did Washington get him in that one? I can't remember.
Yeah, Chris Sims threw a deep ball to who was it? Come on, Nathan Elliott or Paul Stewart, help me here. Who caught the ball in the end zone, and rolled over. I think in today's NFL, it would be called a catch, but the ball moved. That's just back when you hit the ground. If the ball moved a little bit, they called it no catch if the NFL wanted the other team to win it, and they wanted Washington instead of Tampa Bay to win it. So it wasn't Bert Emanuel. That was another screw job.
I have the box score loaded up here. So It's got to be either Joey Galloway, Ike Hilliard, or Edel Shepard.
Edel Shepard. That's it. Was Edel Shepard. Yep, good call. Yeah, Edel Shepard. There would have been, I think, like the game-winning touchdown, but they called it no catch. Yeah.
So a lot of history between these two teams in the playoffs. So
yes, indeed. So it's going to be a hell of a Sunday night. Hey, we got to get in one more break. We'll come back. We'll kind of look ahead to that. I want to look back at the first game and how these two teams have changed, what injury situation might be. So we'll take a quick break. We're brought to you by the great folks at Third Generation Plumbing and AC. ThirdGenerationPlumbing.com is the website. That's how you get in touch with them. Great folks over there. They've been in business since 1995. And all you want is an honest AC tech or an honest plumbing tech and anything else you need done around the house. They will take care of it. Really great company. We love them. John Rodriguez is the owner. And if something is not right, you can personally call him and he will make it right. They're not going to overcharge you. They're not going to try to sell you something you don't need. It's thirdgenerationplumbing.com. Great folks over there. Go read all the 5-star Google reviews from their great service. thirdgenerationplumbing.com. Back in 3. Old Hurricane Helene put a hurting on Tampa Bay, and for many of you, the rebuild will be a long process. You must beware of unscrupulous contractors offering up quick fixes for incredible prices. It's a scam. So go with long-standing, reputable companies like Third Generation Plumbing and AC. My friend John Rodriguez has been serving Tampa Bay since 1995 with hundreds of 5-star reviews. If you need a new AC system or any home repairs from Helene, they will work with insurance companies to get you taken care of quickly, expertly installed, of course, and a 1-year maintenance plan and 10-year warranty included on all AC units. 0% financing for 60 months. Contact them at thirdgenerationplumbing.com or 813-961-8024. That's 813-961-8024, thirdgenerationplumbing.com. So many of our Tampa Bay neighbors are finding out the hard way from Hurricane Helene that homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You must have flood insurance. It's a separate policy. Immediately call Italiano Insurance at 813-877-7799, and they will shop around to find the best policy before rates go up. Lock it in. Over 60% are underinsured in Florida, or you're not getting your discounts that you're entitled to. So do an insurance checkup at Italiano, and they could save you thousands of dollars. Italiano will make sure you're with a highly rated insurer, so there are no surprises in your time of need. Our hearts go out to all our neighbors devastated by Helene. These are the times we're proud to protect all the pieces of your life. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Hey, it's football season, and we welcome back the Gator Report every Monday and Friday, sponsored by the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. Just go to the website. You can contact them through there. Scott Jeeves is a tremendous, aggressive attorney and a big Gator fan, so we appreciate him supporting this show and, of course, your Florida Gators. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Whether it's personal injury or anything else, any law matter at all, it's the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. Give them a call. Tell them JP sent you.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, one of South Tampa premier traditional Italian restaurant. We were recently voted number 3 on Open Table list of Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants. We're very proud of that because we take great care of preparing each dish by hand with homemade sauces, pastas, only the freshest local ingredients. You won't see the big institutional vendor trucks pulling up to our back door. We get our seafood from local vendors. Sometimes I even drive out to Tarpon Springs and pick out our daily catch right off those boats. So stop by and say hello. Try our traditional lasagna, the fresh veal, some of our signature dishes like capelli al granchio, that is angel hair with lump crab meat, our branzino, that is a sea bass. We're located at 4205 South McDill, and you can make a reservation on Open Table and read all the great reviews. See you soon. Ciao. Grazie.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We have breaking news here. Brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES Lawgroup.com. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Go to the website, get your free case evaluation, JeevesLawGroup.com. So we had some breaking news here. Colleen Wright of the Tampa Bay Times has just written a story basically saying that the Rays now have changed course and they want the city to repair the Trop in time for the start of the 2026 season. In a letter to St. Pete City Administrator Rob Gertis, Rays President Matt Silverman said the team had been open to considering a settlement that would buy the city out of its obligation to repair the ballpark. That was obviously December 30th. In the letter, he said the Rays now support and expect, the new letter, St. Pete to rebuild the Trop according to its current use agreement. But absent in the letter is any mention of the Rays' intentions to follow through with a massive deal to build this stadium. So the letter basically says we now expect you to repair the Trop, spend 60, 70, 80 million, whatever it's going to take to repair the Trop to get it done by 2026. But we're still not going to commit to building the stadium. Boy, that's a great team move, isn't it, for the city of St. Pete? That's really working together, isn't it? In his letter, Silverman said a partial 2026 season in Tropicana Field would present massive logistical and revenue challenges for the team. It is therefore critical that the rebuild start in earnest as soon as possible, that a realistic completion schedule be developed quickly, and that the city diligently pursue the reconstruction as required by the use agreement. We look forward to a grand reopening.
You know,
man, oh man. So now, no, we're not going to tell you whether we're going to go through with the plan, but we want you to start spending tens of millions of dollars to repair the Trop so we can play there in 26 and 27 and then go wherever the hell we want after that. So then you can, obviously, this puts a lot of pressure on the Rays. I'm sorry, on the city to spend a lot of money that they don't want to spend.
They did approve it. Event like the city council approved it, right?
No, they
on
approved
$1.7
million to basically mitigate the damages that are there and to make them worse, which is basically cover up all the stuff so it's not open to the elements, so they can, if they're going to rebuild it, they can, they don't have to spend even more money. So, and they're hiring, and that's also, the money also goes to hiring architects and design people to figure out exactly what they have to do, because it's not just the fabric roof that needs to be replaced. There some of the catwalk structures were damaged and came down. I mean,
I tell you what, I'm probably
the 56 million is what the original cost would be, and they have to, and this has to come out of the city's pockets because they lowered their insurance right before hurricane season. It's a disaster, and this is just designed to put more pressure on the city to probably just get out of the deal or try to get out of the deal. It aggravates the situation. It doesn't make things better. It's not working together to get things done to build towards the future. It's just more of the Rays trying to get their way and find a way to get the additional acreage and not build the stadium, which in my opinion was their ultimate goal anyway. So
I speak for myself, but I'm sure I speak for a lot of Tampa Bay sports fans. I didn't need to hear from the Rays today. It's Victory Monday. The Buccaneers are going to the playoffs.
You know what? You could have waited till yesterday.
Tomorrow. Yeah, the Bucs are playing. The Bucs are going to the playoffs for the 5th straight year. I'm trying to enjoy this. We've had a happy show today, and then now I have to hear from the Rays on more stadium stuff after you've been off my mind for about a month at this moment. And honestly, I've been okay with it. Yeah. I've been really okay with it, to be honest with you. I didn't need to hear from you today. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for you right now, Rays. I'm not. I got a hockey team that's struggling to score goals right now. I'm focused on that. Wow. I'm focused on my football team. I don't need you right now.
Yeah, this was a disastrous road trip. You lose to two bottom dwellers in San Jose and Anaheim, and lost to the Kings in between. In the game, they didn't play too poorly. I thought they played well against the Kings. Yeah, but you don't score for 58.5 minutes. Suddenly they can't score goals, which is really, really weird.
3 goals in 3 games.
Yeah.
How is a Tampa Bay Lightning team capable of doing that?
5 goals in 4 games, right? Yeah, come back to the
But I mean, the signs were there. We talked about it last Monday, coming off the big win over the Rangers. The Lightning did not play well against the Rangers in a 6-2 victory, and then they laid a stinker against the Canadiens before they went out west. So the signs are coming. I mean, it's an 82-game season. You're going to go through your stretches. I guess it's better to have it now than have it a little bit later into the season, but it's a little bit makes you uneasy because the Lightning had those games in hand and everything, and those only mean anything if you win those games.
Right.
Dropping 4 of them, 3 of them to 3 basement dwellers in the National Hockey League is not ideal. It's not ideal week.
I mean, Darcy Kemper was really good for the Kings on Saturday. I didn't see much of the game. The Anaheim.
Gibson was great last night.
Gibson. Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. Gibson was good. So that happens. You run into hot goaltenders. You know that happens. But I'm not gonna hit the panic button just yet. So they'll be fine. They were too good in December. This is kind of a regression to the mean. You run into a few hot goaltenders. This is going to happen. I don't think.
This is too like. In a span of 3 weeks, they had to go they had to do their Canadian loop, and then they had to go do their West Coast loop in a span of 3 weeks around the holidays. It doesn't seem like the schedule helped them out there either.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll get in a little bit more of this tomorrow, but today was a great day. It's a great victory Monday. I mean, that game yesterday will go down in history as one of the most entertaining, impactful, dramatic I've ever witnessed. That was, I mean, you got your money's worth there, Buccaneers fans. It was a beautiful day. It's everything that's good about the NFL, and Tampa Bay Buccaneer football was laid before you on this day, from the Ducks to Brady being there, the Brady being there, to come back to win the game, to win the NFC South, to Mike get the record on the last play. I mean, it encapsulates all the great culture that the Bucs have built up over the years in this fan base. It's never been a better time to be a Buccaneer fan ever. I mean, 5 straight playoffs. This is incredible. We're not, and we're still bitching about who the head coach is, me included. But that's the way it goes. But today it's all about, what this team has done, and high marks to Todd Bowles. I jest, but he's done a hell of a job. The numbers speak for themselves. And we'll see what they do in the playoffs. And we'll talk as we go through the week. We'll look at this game with the Commanders. Obviously injuries are going to be a big factor in this. Hopefully Antoine Winfield will come back. We'll see. But the Bucs are in. They get a Sunday night primetime game at home. Get your tickets and your popcorn ready. Absolutely super, super fun. Good job, Nick. Thank you guys for commenting. I think we got to most of them. Really appreciate you guys jumping in, your participation. We do it every Monday through Friday, 10 to 12, and also as a podcast. Please go like and subscribe to our podcast on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. And please like and subscribe to our YouTube page, The JP Peterson Show and Fan Stream Sports. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.